You can assassinate the President of the United States, but never attack his nuclear submarine. However, the Russian defense minister doesn't care so much. Not only launched a frontal kidnapping of the current president and blew up an American nuclear submarine. After learning the news, the Tapas officials were furious, decided to make them pay with blood. Then a nuclear submarine was dispatched to scout the intelligence and ready to fight at any time. Very soon, the submarine has quietly arrived in Russian waters. By exploring the seabed, not only did they find the wreckage of their own submarine, it was also determined that it was sunk by a torpedo. Pavilion Chief Jess immediately declared combat status. The whole submarine is rapidly operating, but just then, sonar detects abnormal loudness. But they don't know that a Goose submarine is secretly hidden not far away. With the order of the Goose Minister, 2 torpedoes shot out towards the goal. The US submarine then detected the torpedo, make evasive movements quickly, and release decoy jamming. Then a torpedo was also fired in response, but the submarine is extremely tricky to hide. The torpedo failed to detect its target. Jess quickly ordered the data to be corrected. The torpedo reversed course, finally found the other party's hiding place. Although the opponent was successfully sunk, but their crisis has not been lifted, the torpedoes launched by the Russian army are still in operation. Not afraid of danger, he calmly directs the submarine to dive, heading towards the previous wreckage. As the torpedo approaches, an abnormal alarm sounded on the boat. Everyone's heart is in their throat. With a beautiful drift of the submarine, successfully dodged the torpedo, but still shaken left and right by the fish wave. The survivors breathed a sigh of relief, but Jess frowned. Just then, vocalist suddenly reports, "I heard another unusual noise, but they didn't expect." Yes, the sound turned out to be from another crashed submarine, sent when they saw the ship. The boat grows from the inside out after the hull. Immediately judged that the submarine was destroyed inside. There was an explosion. Then he ordered the Russian government to submarine personnel conduct rescue, but it was opposed by the rich. The reason is that they inherited their own submarines. But Jess doesn't think so. They don't know what's going on up there now. Maybe saving people will solve the mystery. And it is because of his decision. He kept the entire ship safe. Lifeboats were dispatched to the rescue. After the docking is completed, the rescue port is opened. Soon a Russian sheriff and 2 police officers rescued aboard the Arkansas, and they arranged for emergency treatment. But just then, they received a new secret: travel amount. Domestic Navy SEALs on duty. There is also a Russian president. A passable sea. Not only Russian architecture, it was covered with detectors and ink. It's impossible to get through there. Then Jess suddenly thought of a guide. But when he found Captain Goose, the old driver, the other party didn't give him a good face at all. Then he came up with the cause of the other submarine crash and tell him the evidence of what happened in Russia. But the old driver is an old driver after all. How can it be so easy to fool? No matter what Jess said, he wouldn't believe it. I'm even less willing to help lead the way. In order to complete the task, Jess had to bite the bullet and move forward carefully, but not very far. They encountered a large number of detectors, just in version tricky. Just then, the old driver came over, show them a path. That's not on the US military map. Jess chose to believe him, but it didn't take long. Sonar Garden reports a dead end ahead. Just when people questioned, the old driver looked calm. Sure enough, the sonar part continued to report that there was an error ahead, and they made their way through a tunnel very, very close to home, to safe waters. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Then he successfully arrived outside the Russian command base, driving the lifeboat to meet. The commandos at this time just brought Tong Tong to the beach. But I didn't see the responding submarine, and the pursuers behind are coming soon. Just when he was desperate, a lifeboat suddenly surfaced. Under the cover of John, Captain takes the president to the lifeboat. Then John also jumped into the water, and Luo Jun, who couldn't catch up, can only shoot wildly at the sea. The lifeboat is slapped and sat down. John was unfortunately shot, forever in this sea. Fortunately, the captain successfully delivered the Goose president to the life-saving hull. But what people didn't expect was who he jumped back to. When I heard the news, the cerebellum shrank instantly, crying that it must be a premise. Then the expulsion of a Russian army gradually returned to kin. It's good to ride the wind and waves. The vocal cords discovered the problem in time. Jess said it was a battleship. The old driver said the people on the ship were all trained by him. Never miss. Just then, the returned lifeguard malfunctioned. The situation is precarious. Fortunately, it has arrived near the submarine, but the Yevchenko didn't give them a chance. Directly issued the shooting order. In an instant, countless cannonballs shot out, all the way to the submarine with sparks and lightning. At this critical juncture, Lifesaver completed docking, saved the Goose President, but the missile has already entered the water. Fortunately, they abandoned the lifeguard in time, dodged a bullet, but the crisis is not over, as shells explode in the water. The submarine is in danger of being hit at any time, and every explosion will cause irreversible damage to the submarine. Frequent internal conditions. Fortunately, they escaped this wave of attack, but unfortunately, Yevchenko fired 2 more fishtails. Jess quickly ordered to move down and release the bait, then get ready to fight back. But when he saw the old driver and canceled the preparation for counterattack. Once you fight back, even if the 2 countries are at war, although the toddler detonated a torpedo, but there's another one chasing them. The situation is very critical. And he had an idea. Then the submarine plunged into the donkey's tail. The fish tail just arrived. There was an explosion. And very quickly, this was transmitted to the American command center, facing the premise of life and death. The defense minister was furious. He complained about the bald head's bad idea. If the Russian president were killed on their submarine, then they became the culprits for kidnapping the Russian president, thus giving Russia an excuse to go to war. And then the United States went to level 1 readiness. The North Atlantic Fleet is approaching the Russian border, and Russia is not to be outdone. A large number of warships went to fight. The Third World War is about to break out. Unfortunately, the submarine was not sunk by a torpedo, but their situation is not optimistic at this time. There's always the threat of destruction. To save the ship, Jess found the Russian president. Although the president said that Russian troops could be contacted, but once the submarine rises to the communication level, will be attacked by destroyers. And their submarine torpedo launch was also damaged, lost the ability to counterattack from the bottom of the sea while they were repairing. Yevchenko found them through sonar, then turned the bow, ready to continue taking out the submarine. As they are locked, the submarine was silent. Everyone is in deep despair. And it occurred to Jess. Then let the old driver shout, "Soon ye fu." The voice of the old driver rang out on the Chenko, told them about themselves. This confused everyone. Then the submarine rose to the surface. Can be expelled gradually forms a state of confrontation. After the captain of the Yevchenko saw it, he gave the order to sink him, but no one acted. No one wants a former captain to die at sea. In fact, the head was pointed at by a gun. Rich still refuses to give orders, but just then, the president's voice suddenly came on the radio. The helpless Russian captain can only report to his superiors. After Kawanishi learned of the situation, immediately mobilized a large number of K-35 missiles, all aimed at the US submarine. After the US Department of Defense was informed of the situation, immediately grant Jess permission to counterattack in self-defense. Then the submarine went into combat readiness. POW missiles are also ready, and Russian missiles. The launch countdown has entered. Once the war starts, that was World War III. Kawanishi suddenly became the prettiest boy in the audience. Countless shells flew through the sky towards the submarine. But the unexpected thing is, Jess actually gave up the counterattack. What's even more unexpected is, the Yevchenko actually helped them intercept, hold all the shells. Then 2 BMWs were launched, hit the Russian command center a few minutes later.